Welcome back, everyone, for part two of our deep dive into modern Indian history.
Part two already.
I know, right? Time flies when you're having fun uncovering the past.
It really does, especially when that past is as complex and fascinating as India's.
Exactly. And today we're tackling a topic that's not just fascinating, but also super relevant if you're prepping for the UPSC GS1 paper.
The UPSC, huh?
Yep, we're diving into the evolution of vernacular education during British rule.
Ah, a pivotal era for sure.
Absolutely. So if you're a UPSC aspirant or just a history buff in school or college, buckle up, this one's for you.
Sounds good. And hey, if you're finding this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Definitely. It really helps us out.
Okay, so to really grasp the impact of British policies.
On vernacular education.
Right, on vernacular education, we need to rewind a bit.
Take us back in time.
Exactly. What was the education scene like in India before the British arrived? Before all of that?
Good question.
Imagine a system deeply intertwined with local communities.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You had pathshalas teaching basic literacy,
Pathshalas, got it.
gurukuls functioning like residential ashrams with a spiritual focus,
Interesting.
and madrasas dedicated to Islamic studies.
Right, so a diverse landscape of learning.
And knowledge was passed down in the languages people spoke every day. Tamil, Bengali, Marathi, you name it.
So a very organic system, growing from the grassroots,
Exactly.
which is a far cry from the structured Western-style education that the British brought with them.
That's right, a major shift in approach.
Okay, so when did that shift begin? When did things start to change?
One of the key turning points was the Charter Act of 1813.
The Charter Act of 1813, okay.
This act essentially opened the floodgates for English language schools.
So that's when English really started to take root in the education system.
Right, but it also sparked a heated debate among British officials themselves.
Oh, I'm sensing some juicy drama here. Tell me more.
You had the Orientalists,
Okay, the Orientalists.
who believed in preserving and promoting Indian languages and culture.
Interesting. So they saw value in understanding India on its own terms.
Precisely. They believed that engaging with India's existing knowledge systems was crucial.
And then on the other side,
You had the Anglicists.
who saw English as the key to progress,
Ah, the language that would bring India into the modern world.
at least according to them.
Wow, talk about a clash of worldviews.
It was a fundamental disagreement about how India should be governed and educated.
So how did this debate play out in actual policies on the ground? How did these different perspectives translate into action?
Well, the push for English education definitely gained momentum,
As we might expect.
but it wasn't a complete erasure of Indian languages.
So there was some push and pull, some negotiation happening.
Exactly. And some British officials actually saw strategic value in utilizing local languages to spread their own influence.
Ah, so a bit of a double-edged sword.
That's right.
They wanted to control the narrative,
Right.
but they needed the vernacular languages to do it. Precisely. It's a fascinating example of how power dynamics played out in the realm of education.
It really is. And a perfect example of this is the Vernacular Press Act of 1878.
The Vernacular Press Act.
Yeah. Ironically, this act meant to stifle dissent.
By controlling publications in Indian languages?
Exactly. Had the opposite effect.
Now that's interesting. How did that happen?
Well, think about it. By restricting the press, they actually drew more attention to it.
They inadvertently gave it more power.
Precisely. It spurred a surge in newspapers and publications in local languages, spreading information and igniting discussions among Indians in a way they hadn't anticipated.
So the British unintentionally fueled the very movement they were trying to suppress.
Talk about a backfire.
An unintended consequence that had a significant impact on the development of vernacular education.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the British shaping the education landscape.
Right. Indian voices were also becoming increasingly prominent.
This period also saw the rise of some incredible Indian figures, right?
Absolutely. Visionaries like Rajaram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and Keshab Chandra Sen weren't just passively accepting British policies.
They were actively pushing back.
Exactly. They actively championed vernacular education as a tool to empower Indians.
So they recognized that language wasn't just about communication.
It was about much more than that.
It was about preserving cultural identity, reclaiming their own narratives.
Precisely, their advocacy went beyond practicalities.
It was a statement.
It was a powerful statement.
Indian languages were not inferior.
Right.
They held the key to unlocking India's own rich knowledge traditions.
And empowering future generations on their own terms.
And their efforts to establish schools and promote learning in local languages laid the groundwork for a truly Indian education system.
They were pioneers paving the way for a future where education was rooted in Indian culture and values.
But this wasn't just about lofty ideals, though, right?
Of course not. It was about putting those ideals into practice.
Were there people on the ground actively working to make vernacular education a reality?
Absolutely. In the 1830s, William Adams' reports on vernacular education in Bengal and Bihar were incredibly influential.
William Adam, okay.
He provided a clear-eyed assessment of the existing system, highlighting its strengths and the areas needing improvement.
So he was bringing hard data to the table.
Precisely. His reports provided valuable insights that helped shape policy decisions.
Helping to make the case for more investment and support.
Exactly.
And then were there others?
And then you have figures like James Jonathan,
Jonathan.
who put these ideas into practice in the Northwest provinces.
So taking those ideas and making them a reality?
That's right. He established model schools and teacher training programs.
Really demonstrating what a robust vernacular education system could look like.
Exactly. He was a true innovator, putting theory into action.
It's fascinating to see these practical experiments alongside the philosophical debates.
A combination of vision and pragmatism that was essential for driving change.
Were these efforts starting to influence official policy? Were those in power starting to take notice?
They absolutely were. A pivotal moment came in 1853 with Lord Dalhousie's Minute.
Lord Dalhousie, okay, and his minute.
A powerful statement from a high-ranking British official
Oh, wow.
openly endorsing vernacular education.
So this was a significant shift,
You could say that.
a crack in the previously dominant pro-English stance.
Exactly. It signaled a growing recognition of the importance of Indian languages in the education system.
And this shift paved the way for one of the most landmark documents in the history of Indian
I
education.
bet I know what's coming.
The Woods Dispatch of 1854.
That's right, the Woods Dispatch.
Okay, I've heard of this, but refresh my memory. Why was it such a big deal?
Think of it as the blueprint for education in India for decades to come.
Okay, a blueprint. That's a good way to put it.
It provided a comprehensive framework for promoting vernacular languages, establishing clear standards for teaching, and setting up a system of government oversight.
It sounds like this was more than just a policy tweak.
Absolutely.
It was a fundamental rethinking of how education should function in India.
Precisely. It marked a major turning point in the evolution of Indian education.
And its impact was tangible.
Oh, very much so.
Between 1854 and 1871, the number of vernacular schools increased fivefold.
Wow, that's remarkable.
That's incredible.
A testament to the growing demand for education in Indian languages.
So we're seeing this movement gain real momentum.
Yes.
It's not just talk anymore. It's
Yeah,
translating into concrete changes on the ground.
precisely. And it didn't stop there.
Really, so even more was to come.
The Hunter Commission in 1882 further emphasized the importance of mass education in local languages,
The Hunter Commission, got it.
viewing it as crucial for reaching the vast majority of Indians and empowering them through knowledge.
So knowledge is a tool for empowerment.
They saw it as a cornerstone of a more just and equitable society.
So there's this clear evolution in thinking.
Yes.
From seeing vernacular education as a side project
To something much more central.
to recognizing it as central to India's future.
Exactly. It was no longer a marginal concern, but a fundamental aspect of national development.
And that's fascinating to see that shift happen.
A shift driven by the tireless efforts of advocates both Indian and British.
So a collaborative effort in many ways.
In many ways, yes, despite the complexities of the colonial context.
Well, this has been a fantastic exploration so far.
It really has.
But unfortunately, we're out of time for this segment of our deep dive.
Already.
I know, right? But don't worry, we'll be back to delve deeper into how this movement continued to gain traction into the 20th century and its lasting impact on India today. So stay tuned.
Can't wait. Picking up where we left off, this momentum for vernacular education didn't just fizzle out.
It kept going.
It continued into the 20th century.
So the 1900s.
For example, in 1904, a new education policy allocated increased grants specifically for vernacular schools,
So concrete support.
showing a real commitment.
It's remarkable how this idea persisted and evolved over time,
It really is.
becoming deeply embedded in the fabric of Indian education.
Exactly, a testament to the enduring belief in its importance.
It wasn't just a fleeting trend, was it?
Not at all. Even the Hartog Committee in 1929, while painting a somewhat bleak picture of primary education overall.
Okay, so some challenges there.
Yes, but they still acknowledged the importance of instruction in vernacular languages.
So even amidst challenges and differing opinions, there was this persistent recognition
Right.
that educating Indians in their own languages was absolutely crucial.
Absolutely. It was seen as fundamental to their progress and development.
Hmm. It makes you wonder, was this viewed as a direct challenge to British authority at the time?
That's a great question, while not always explicitly stated.
Yeah.
The push for vernacular education certainly ran counter to the prevailing notion of English as the sole language of advancement and civilization.
Interesting. So a challenge to the established hierarchy of languages.
You could say that by reclaiming their languages, Indians were also reclaiming their own narrative,
Oh.
challenging the very foundation of colonial power dynamics.
It's fascinating how this seemingly educational movement
Right.
becomes intertwined with broader themes of self-determination and cultural resistance.
Absolutely. It was about much more than just pedagogy.
Right.
It was about identity, empowerment, and ultimately shaping a future for India on its own terms.
And the sentiment only intensified as we move closer to independence.
Absolutely. The movement gained even more momentum in the decades leading up to 1947.
So the push for vernacular education was closely tied to the larger struggle for freedom.
Very much so. It was seen as an integral part of creating a truly independent and self-reliant India.
That makes sense. So it transcended political divides, becoming a shared vision
Right.
for a future where Indians could access knowledge and participate in society through the languages they knew and cherished.
Precisely. And this vision wasn't limited to a particular region or community.
It resonated across India.
It did, and that broad-based support is crucial to understanding its lasting impact even after independence.
That's a perfect segue to my next question. What can we say about the legacy of this movement? How did it shape the education system in post-independence India?
The debates and developments we've discussed had a profound influence on how India approached education after 1947.
So it wasn't just a historical footnote,
Not at all.
but a foundation upon which modern India's education system was built.
Precisely. The emphasis on vernacular languages, the commitment to mass education, the recognition of diverse learning needs
These are all legacies.
of the movement for vernacular education.
Okay, so let's step back for a moment and look at the big picture.
Okay.
What would you say are the most significant takeaways from this deep dive? What really stands out to you?
For me, it highlights the immense power of ideas
Okay, the power of ideas.
and how they can shape history.
It's true. Ideas have a way of taking root and transforming societies.
We've seen how the idea of vernacular education evolved from a fringe concept to a central pillar of educational policy,
Driven by.
driven by passionate advocates, both Indian and British.
So a testament to the power of conviction.
Absolutely. And it also underscores the importance of cultural preservation,
Yeah.
the role of language in shaping national identity.
Powerful stuff. And it's a reminder that history isn't just about memorizing dates and events.
No, it's much more than that.
It's about understanding the struggles, the triumphs, the evolving ideas
Right.
that have shaped the world we live in today.
Exactly. It's about making connections, understanding the complexities of the past.
And for our UPSC aspirants specifically, how does understanding this history prepare them for the GS1 paper?
This topic is a goldmine for the GS1 paper, which focuses on Indian heritage and culture,
Right.
history, and geography.
So directly relevant.
It provides a deep understanding of the complexities of British colonial rule
Okay.
and its impact on Indian society.
Right.
It demonstrates how cultural and educational policies were intertwined with political power dynamics.
That connects different aspects of history.
And it offers insights into the evolution of Indian identity
Yeah.
and the ongoing debates about language and education in the country.
So it helps us understand not just the past, but also the present.
Exactly. It provides a framework for understanding contemporary issues.
It's like a key that unlocks a deeper understanding of modern India,
That's a great way to put it.
both its past and its present.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are fascinated by history,
Regardless of exams,
I encourage you to keep exploring.
to delve deeper,
This deep dive is just the tip of the iceberg.
there's always more to uncover.
There's a vast ocean of knowledge out there waiting to be explored.
It's like opening a door to a whole new world.
Of knowledge and understanding.
Precisely so. Keep that curiosity alive.
Never stop asking questions.
And speaking of making connections,
Yes.
how does this historical journey of vernacular education resonate with the issues we see in India today?
That's a thought-provoking question.
How does the past inform the present?
Think about the ongoing debates about language policy, multilingualism,
Now-
the balance between preserving cultural heritage and embracing globalized forms of knowledge
These are all issues.
that are deeply rooted in the history we've been discussing.
So the echoes of this movement are still felt today.
Absolutely, as India grapples with these complex questions.
It's fascinating to see how the past continues to shape our present.
And inform the choices we make for the future.
So the past isn't really past at all.
It's very much alive.
It's constantly shaping our present and informing the choices we make for the future.
Precisely. History is not a static thing, but a dynamic force that continues to influence us.
Well said. But for now, we've reached the end of this deep dive.
Already.
I know, time flies when you're immersed in history.
It really does, but this has been a fascinating exploration.
It has. What stands out to you about this journey of vernacular education?
What a question.
What's a question or insight you'll take away from this exploration?
So much to think about.
Share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear from you.
We would. Let's keep the conversation going. It's hard to choose just one thing, but I think for me it's the sheer resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah, the resilience and determination of those who championed vernacular education.
They really believed in it.
They faced immense challenges.
I can imagine.
From deeply ingrained colonial attitudes to limited resources, yet they never wavered
They never gave up.
in their belief that education should be accessible to all in the languages they know and cherish.
That's powerful.
Their legacy continues to inspire.
It does. It's a testament to the power of conviction.
And the impact individuals can have when they dare to challenge the status quo.
They saw a different future.
They understood that language is more than just a tool for communication.
It's part of who we are.
It's a fundamental aspect of identity and cultural pride.
And they fought for that recognition.
They did. And their efforts paved the way for a more inclusive and equitable education system in India.
One that values diversity.
One that recognizes the value of linguistic diversity and empowers individuals to learn and thrive in their own mother tongues.
It's a reminder that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles,
Yeah.
positive change is possible
When people come together.
with a shared vision.
An unwavering commitment.
It's inspiring, and for our listeners, especially those gearing up for the UPSC, we hope this deep dive has not only been informative
But also ignited your curiosity.
about this crucial period in Indian history.
Absolutely. Remember, the story of vernacular education is just one facet of the rich tapestry of modern Indian history.
There's so much more to explore.
There are countless other stories waiting to be explored, each offering valuable insights into the forces that have shaped India into the nation it is today.
So keep diving deep
Deep questioning
and keep connecting the dots,
between the past and the present.
because understanding history is essential for navigating the future
It gives us the tools to make informed decisions.
and to build a better world.
And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into vernacular education in British India.
But the journey of learning never truly ends.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions.
And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history, culture, and the ideas that shape our world.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, happy learning.